Hey, what are you doing?
A sequel.
I don't understand.
Yeah, me neither. We pretty much nailed it the first time.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to... Hey, boys. Wanna play some volleyball?
Gross. Does all interdimensional TV have to rely on juvenile violence?
Well, Summer, maybe people that create things aren't concerned with your delicate sensibilities.
Internet, welcome to Film Theory.
Grass tastes bad.
Since the beginning of this channel, the single most requested series you've asked me to cover has been Gravity Falls. At the time, I'd never heard of it, but based on your recommendation, Steph and I started watching it, and instantly we had found ourselves a new favorite show. Hilarious characters, fantastic storylines, hidden codes, and secret conspiracies, all while brother and sister Dipper and Mabel Pine solve mysteries around Gravity Falls, Oregon. It was like a dream come true! But from a theory perspective, we'd come too late. By the time this channel started, the biggest mystery of the series had been solved and confirmed. The final few episodes were just about to air. And sure, I had some thoughts about how Weird Mageddon came to an abrupt close and how it didn't really end the series, since you can't erase memories and then have them magically come back without the main antagonist Bill Cipher also somehow still being alive. But with the show wrapped, there just wasn't a whole lot to say. All I had left was a hole in my life. A hole aching for another smart animated series. Well, that's not 100% true. I was left with a hole in my life and a grappling hook! Enter Rick and Morty. It had everything that I had loved about Gravity Falls. It was smart, the characters were endearing, there was even a sense of underlying mystery to be solved. The only difference was that it was just a bit more mature.
I'm gonna need you to take these seeds into the bathroom, and I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole, Morty.
My butt?
Or should I say, immature. At the time, I didn't suspect that there could ever be a deeper reason why these two series resonated with me so strongly. I never suspected that the mastermind behind Gravity Falls just so happened to be good friends with Rick and Morty's creator, Justin Roiland. And I absolutely would never have expected that the two had created shows that not only shared the same universe, or more accurately, multiverse, but had made it so that Rick and Morty is the secret sequel to Gravity Falls. You heard that right. Rick and Morty is the unofficial Season 3 of Gravity Falls, a story directly connected to and happening around and after Weird Mageddon. So pull out your journals and prepare to get swifty as we nerd out over the biggest mystery these two amazing shows could have thrown our way. Now, the idea that the two shows are connected in some way has been around for a while. In episode 10 of Season 1 of Rick and Morty, Close Encounters of the Rick Kind, there's a tiny Easter egg that started people speculating. As Rick tries to escape getting captured by the Council of Ricks, which is a governing body of different versions of himself collected across other parallel realities, he creates numerous portals to throw off his pursuers, each leading to a different universe. And you could watch this episode 100 times and still miss the Gravity Falls connection. Through one of those portals flies a pen, a notebook, and a coffee cup with a question mark on it. The question mark is immediately a dead giveaway that this is connected to Gravity Falls in some way, considering it's the logo for that show's main setting, the Mystery Shack. But we can do it one better. We can trace to the exact moment that these items fly through the portal in the first place. In the Gravity Falls episode Society of the Blind Eye, we see Mabel and Dipper's great uncle Stan working to rebuild a trans-dimensional portal in his secret basement laboratory. When he fires it up, the suction of the portal causes him to lose 3 items: a pen, a notebook, and you guessed it, a coffee cup with the signature question mark on it. The exact 3 items that we see fly through Rick's portal. So very early in Rick and Morty Night's run, you have yourselves proof positive that these two shows share a universe. Or should I say one of an infinite number of possible universes? Screw the mumbo jumbo, let's just say it plain and simple. They're connected, and very intentionally so. But here's the thing, this is where most websites quote-unquote proving this theory stop. One Easter egg, done, confirmed. Way to dig deep there, guys. Watch out, we got some heavy lore researchers over here. Heavy lore researchers. Only the hardest hitting investigative journalism here, guys. But you know what? But don't leave an underpaid freelance blogger to do a theorist's job, my friends, because there is so much more to this theory. For instance, in the episode Big Trouble in Little Sanchez, the B story has Jerry and Beth going to marriage counseling on the planet Nuptia 4. As the two begin their therapy, in the background on the monitor is an odd depiction of some sort of weird pyramid with a tall hat and a single eyeball. The iconic design of Gravity Falls' greatest villain, Bill Cipher. And when I say Gravity Falls' greatest villain, for all you Rick and Morty fans who's never seen the show, let me give you some context.
You deserve a prize! Here, have a head that's always screaming!
This guy is so powerful and so evil, he burned his entire original dimension, killing off everyone in it, including his family, friends, and parents. So for the good people of Nuptia 4 to be analyzing Bill Cipher in some way, it's both fascinating and potentially troubling for the entire Rick and Morty universe. To have a threat like that lurking around in the background, it could spell disaster for everyone that we know and love in this world. Multi-worlds. Multiverse. It's just assume that it's always a multiverse. But to truly see how these connections flesh out, you've got to be really hardcore. You've got to be ready for some deep lore, off-platform code breaking. You've got to, dramatic pause, read a book. In the Gravity Falls book, the canon copy of the show's Journal Number 3, which is the most important item from that series, which they've published in full and released, the connection between these two franchises is not only unavoidable, but also starts to have implications for both shows' stories, explaining why all of this is so much more than just a series of fun Easter eggs. So Journal Number 3 documents Stanford Pines' research into the odd things happening around Gravity Falls, Oregon, but it also tells of his time spent exploring other dimensions and the creatures he uncovers during his journeys. And yet, the text that you see on every page is only half the story. This book is a puzzle solver's dream, because on practically every single page of the journal is a coded message. And the codes vary throughout the book. Caesar ciphers, where you substitute the original letter for the third letter that came before it. Bash ciphers, where you decode the text by reversing the letters. Vigneri ciphers, where each letter shift depends on some hidden keyword. And there's more. There is so much more in this thing. And what you'll find is that certain codes are related to certain characters leaving notes throughout the journal. For instance, Ford, the author of the journal, has a specific symbol code. Every time you decipher one of these pages, you can know that it's him talking. And wouldn't you know it, but Bill Cipher, old pyramid head over here, also has his own set of codes in the book, specifically substituting symbols for letters. Most of the time, he's threatening the characters. For instance, on the page about Ford himself, Bill's message translates to birthday June 15th, death day sooner than you think. Great! So an all-powerful god creature with a murder complex and propensity for stovepipe hats is not only reading my diary, but adding cute little notes in the margins about my impending doom. And just because this feels like the appropriate time to mention it, remember this was a show that ran on a Disney Channel. And while all the coded messages are fun and interesting and contain little Easter egg references to the main series, there's one in particular that stands out. Ford recounts that for 30 years he traveled the multiverse to determine how to defeat Bill, engaging in many different daring adventures. But in the process, he becomes an outlaw across multiple different dimensions, stealing supplies for his quantum destabilizer, the weapon that he planned would defeat Bill once and for all. He even shows us a copy of his wanted poster in the journal. But here's the thing. In the corner of that wanted poster is another code from Bill Cipher. A code that, when translated, says, "Rick was here." Wait, what? Rick who? In the entire Gravity Falls series, there is no character named Rick. But could it be referring to Rick, Rick Sanchez Rick and Morty Rick, lovable genius drunk Rick, the ultimate Szechuan sauce fan Rick? But for that to be the case, that would mean that Bill Cipher somehow knew about Rick, that there's some connection with the journal and Stanford and Rick Sanchez and Rick and Morty and this unified theory of odd. So spurred on by this one random phrase, I kept digging through the book. And what I found was shocking. While recounting his adventures, Ford mentions that he, quote, traveled with bandits, learned to speak 13 different languages, even got caught in a fistfight with a talking couch, end quote. And that caught my attention, because in Rick and Morty, we've seen that dimension. Again, in the episode Closer Encounters of the Rick Kind, we see the furniture dimension, a world like our own, but where the couches and chairs are alive, and people are the things that are used to be sat upon. So if Ford got into a fight with a talking couch somewhere in the multiverse, it probably would have been here. But the references keep going. Earlier in Journal Number 3, there's 2 pages filled with creature silhouettes, as Ford draws out the strange things he's encountered encountered and can't explain. And while most of them show up in episodes of Gravity Falls, there's also a handful that are directly from the adventures of Rick. Hidden among those silhouettes is a Zygerian, the con artist aliens from M. Night Shyamalians. There's also the giant silhouette of Cthulhu, and not just any Cthulhu, but one that looks oddly similar to the one appearing in the opening sequence of every episode of Rick and Morty. And let's not forget, there's also a Plumbus. Just a regular old Plumbus, complete with proper flea brubbing. I mean, everyone has a Plumbus in their home, so it shouldn't be that much of a surprise. But it's here, all here in Ford's book, showing us that he's come across all of these things from Rick and Morty. But what does this all mean? Well, remember how Ford said that he ran with a team of bandits, and how his wanted poster said Rick was here? This all seems to imply that Ford was a fourth known member of Rick's gang of international outlaws, along with Bird Person and Squanchy, and that Ford's quest to piece together the quantum destabilizer by stealing items from across the multiverse is part of the reason why Rick and his gang are wanted men. I mean, just like Rick, Ford also eventually hides amongst his family for cover. It's also why Bill Cipher would be the one to leave that message. Bill must know of Rick because he has a history with Stanford and was following the comings and goings of a group of people trying to piece together a weapon that was meant to kill him. And if all of this wasn't mind-blowing enough, we also know that most of Rick and Morty is happening after Gravity Falls' Weirdmageddon series finale, and that Bill Cipher is still a threat. Journal number 3 ends with Stanford writing about the events depicted in the final episodes of the series, defeating Bill, traveling the world with his estranged brother, but Bill is still leaving threatening notes in the background, meaning that he too survived and is probably eager to have his revenge. Holy poopy butthole, Rick and Morty fans, that would be why he was being analyzed in Nuptia 4. It also means that there's a very real, very canon possibility of Rick and Ford crossing paths again, joining up one last time to fight the returning threat of Bill Cipher. And if you think that none of this would happen, that they're still just Easter eggs, the ties between the shows are just getting stronger and more frequent. In the Szechuan-drenched April Fool's launch of Rick and Morty Season 3, we not only see Dipper and Mabel versions of Morty in the background of the Council of Ricks, but we also see a physical copy of Journal number 3 in Morty's hands. In practically the same frame as you see Mabel and Dipper in the background, you can see the reinforced edges of a maroon journal. And the hints just keep showing up. During Rick and Morty's Season 2 break, you could check out the Galactic Federation prison where Rick was being detained on the official Rickstaverse Instagram. And just like a Where's Waldo, if you scout those pages, you'll find a Plumbus. Just a regular old Plumbus. But near his personal effects, you can actually see the Stan mug, pen, and pad lying on the table. So obviously, canonically, the evidence is there and a crossover should happen. But a lot of times, rights issues and things like that make it impossible. But at the very least, as Rick and Morty's Season 3 continues, hopefully there are at least a few more Easter eggs to chew on. And if nothing else, simply knowing that two of the greatest scientific minds in fiction were off having adventures together is a pretty darn incredible thing for all of us fans of both series. And that's the way the news goes. But hey, remember, that's just a theory. A film. And now it's connected to The Simpsons, which is also confirmed to be connected to Futurama through that Slurm reference in their joint intro, so much connection. That's all I got. Subscribe, please subscribe. More Rick and Morty on the way. Please click that button. Please, I'm begging you. Our livelihood depends on it.